How's it going, everybody? You know who it is. My name is Sunwoo, and in today's video I'm gonna be ranking all the samplers that I've owned from the worst one to the first one. Okay, let's start with my sampler history so far. I'm gonna name all the devices that I've owned and do so in chronological order, or at least I try to. And the story begins with the MPC 500, which I bought, I think, around 2009, maybe 2010, maybe 2008, something like that. The next device that I moved on to was the MPC 1000, which I got a super deal on at the time. I went to the Just Music store in Hamburg back in the day, and the guy who worked there asked me if I wanted to have a used MPC 1000. And yeah, he just gave me a ridiculous price on it, so I had to get it. And the next thing that I bought was the MPC 2000 XL, and that's when I got more into beat making and transitioned more from being just a rapper to rapper/beat maker. I think that was in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. I got that one. And then we move on to the SP404 SX, which I believe I bought in 2016. And then in quick succession, a few more devices came. The SP202 had a short stint with me. The Zoom sample track, which I've bought and sold 4 or 5 by now. And then as soon as the PO33 came out, I bought one of those. Same with the OPZ, I bought that as soon as it came out, which I think is now about 3 years ago. And after that, in an effort to replace my OPZ because I wasn't so happy with the build quality, I bought an Akai Force, which I didn't really like, and sold again. Then I bought a Digitakt and an Octatrack. And that's where my little history lesson about my sampler purchases ends. Well, not quite. Actually, I bought a few more samplers in between, but most of those I mainly bought at a cheap price in order to resell them again. So I am not going to include them in the ranking, but I'll tell you anyway what other samplers I have owned. So there is the Akai X7000, which I bought for a ridiculous $4 in full working condition. The Akai S20, the Akai S2800i, the Akai MPC60, which I didn't use at all. I just bought it and resold it. I was too scared to use it and break it in the meantime. And I owned an Akai MPC 2500. Okay, now let's get to some criteria that are worth considering when deciding which sampler to get and which one not to get. And of course, this list is highly biased. All these decisions are just made on my personal preferences for beat making, and everybody has a different workflow, so this is not a definitive list of which sampler really is better. It's just a ranking in my opinion. Nevertheless, here are some criteria that are worth considering when thinking about getting a sampler or deciding which sampler to sell. Number 1 would be the sound. I think it's nice if a sampler has its own sound. Of course, the more modern samplers don't have as much of a sound as the old ones had. Number 2, fun. If a sampler inspires me to pick it up and to want to play longer with it, that means I'm gonna make more music, and therefore it pays off for itself. That's why I think having fun with your sampler is very important, and if it provides the right tools to inspire you and making music fun, that's a very important aspect when considering which sampler to get. Number 3, features. Of course, it's very important to know what the sampler can do and what it can't do, and therefore we need to know its features. Some people want feature-packed devices. Other people don't want feature-packed devices and they want more of a streamlined workflow, and I can completely understand that too. So there's a balance to be had between having too many features and too little features. But anyway, that's number 3. Number 4, build quality. Of course, if we have a sampler and we like it and we want to keep it for a long time, it is important that it has a nice build quality. That's why we are considering that too when deciding which sampler is the best. Number 5, value. Meaning, how much do you get for the price you pay? Of course, there are many different devices on the market for very different prices. Starting from a used pocket operator for maybe, I don't know, $60 up to devices like the MPC60, MPC3000 or SP1200 for a few $1,000s. It is important to consider, do you actually get your money's worth with these devices or do you not? Alright, now that we have our criteria laid out, let's start with our rankings, starting with number 11. And place number 11 goes to the SP202 by Roland. Now, the 202 being on place number 11 is not really a surprise to most people, probably because it just has so few features that make it worthwhile. The only thing that does make it worthwhile, in my opinion, is the sound quality, which it has different sampling modes ranging from super lo-fi to a little less lo-fi, and it can sound really good, but there's just nothing else to it. It doesn't have a sequencer, it doesn't have many effects. It has a cool filter maybe, but it also has very, very limited sample time, so you can't really make beats using just a 202. What you mostly would use it for probably is sampling things into it, getting that nice sound quality out of it, and then sampling these sounds into another device. So that's why the 202 gets the last place, although it has a wonderful sound. Next up, the MPC 500. Now, this was my very first sampler, and I don't think it's bad by any means, but there are a lot of samplers on this list that are just better than it. Now, the positives about the MPC 500 are that you have quite a large sample storage on the compact flash cards and that you have MPC pads on it. The size is also very nice, so it is portable in a way. But where I think they dropped the ball is that you can only use AA batteries and they are emptied quite quickly when using it. So if the MPC 500 would have had a internal battery that lasts a bit longer, I think it would have ranked a bit higher for being a nice portable MPC. But I rank it this low because I don't like the menu system in it. It only has a 2-line display, which is a little bit fiddly when making beats, and so the user experience is not the nicest. That's why it scores quite low. The sound is alright, I mean, there's nothing special to it, so number 10, MPC 500. And let's get to number 9, drum roll please. The Akai Force has the spot number 9, and that is because I didn't have much fun when using it. It has so many features, and yeah, you can make whole songs in it. I mean, it's a DAW in a box. It's a DAW with a touch screen and a push-to attached to it. And maybe if I had it at a different time in my life, I would have loved it, because I think the fact that you can, you know, record your microphone straight in it and edit your vocals on it, and you've got VST plugins, or not real VSTs, but you know what I mean, directly in the box, is really cool. So it's a complete production center, and I think if you only had the Akai Force and nothing else, you could be very happy, but somehow it still feels clunky to me. I don't know why, but the new Akai devices are just a little more clunky in their design, in the user experience, and therefore I just didn't enjoy using it as much. And somehow everything I made on it sounded very bland and uninspired, and yeah, that's why I don't like it. I think I need a bit more limitations in order to make better beats. That's why the Akai Force is not high on my list, although it's a great device for a lot of people, I guess. Number 8, the Digitakt. as opposed to the Akai Force. The Digitakt had too many limitations for me. For example, that it only has 8 monophonic sample tracks really bothered me. The fact that it doesn't have a proper slice mode on it, that you gotta per step lock the start and end point of your sample, really was no fun for me. So yeah, that makes me think that the Digitakt very much is a device that can be great if it suits your purpose, but if you have a specific workflow and you just don't gel with it, you'll probably hate it. The positive things about the Digitakt are that the sound is good. I mean, it's relatively clean, I would say, or very clean actually. The build quality is great, the effects are good, although there aren't many effects, so you're not gonna go crazy and alter your sample like you would with an SP404, for example. But yeah, build quality nice, good sound, and stable sequencer. That's what I can say for it. So number 8, the Digitakt. And number 7, the MPC 1000. For the time when it came out, I think the MPC 1000 was the perfect sampler. I liked the form factor, I liked the build quality, it had nice pads, the display was quite large for the time and was very useful, and the fact that it has JJOS available, which gives you insane capabilities in such a portable device, I think is amazing. The main downsides of it, I would say, are the rather bland sound quality from what I can remember, as well as the quality of effects, which I didn't really like. But other than that, it's still a very useful device, and for the prices you could get them for a while, I think now they're going up again, they were just insanely capable machines. But nowadays I probably wouldn't get the 1000 just because the newer devices have much better effects. Although I would say the user interface of the 1000 is probably better than all the Akai Force and MPC 1 stuff, because I hate using touchscreens. That's why the MPC 1000 ranks higher than the Akai Force. So number 7, MPC 1000. Number 6, the SP404. The SP404, in my opinion, is a super fun sampler. I love that it has so many effects. I love the size of it, the portability. I love the feel of it. What I really hate about it is the sequencer. I don't have any idea why they would implement such a bad sequencer and then repeat the same thing with the new SP404 as well that's out now. If the SP404 had a proper step sequencer, I think it would be one of the best samplers out there. But as it is right there right now, I would rank the SP404 at place 6. Being a fun sampler and a very, very creative tool. And now we're getting into the upper half of the rankings. On place number 5, we got the MPC 2000 XL. Now you might ask yourself, why am I ranking the 2000 XL so high, although it has a lot less features than most of the other samplers that came before it? And you are right to ask yourself that. The reason I rank the MPC 2000 XL so high is that I really liked the look of it, I liked the build quality of it, and I liked the feel of it. Yeah, it's a very sturdy construction. I love the old gray look. I think you just can't beat that. And also, it had amazing pads, the most amazing pads that I've felt on any sampler, and it really inspired me to do finger drumming more. So if you consider fun being an important factor in choosing a device, the MPC 2000 XL ranks very highly with me just because I had a lot of fun using it. And I think the simplicity of the device was just right and the feel was superb. Stability, very nice. And for the price I got it at the time, I think it was around 400 euro. It was well worth it. I wouldn't buy it now because I like other devices better by now, but still a great device. Number 5, MPC 2000 XL. Okay, let's get to number 4, and this one might be a surprise for you because it is the OPZ. Yes, although it's the most featured device on my channel, I don't think it is the best sampler that I've had so far. just because it's not only a sampler, that's why I'm saying this. So the sample functions in the OPZ are rather limited with the 12-second sample limit or 6-second in the melodic slots, as well as there not being an option to resample and also limited effects and such. So that's why the OPZ ranks only on number 4 in terms of its sampler capabilities. Of course, if you consider that it's also a synthesizer, I would rank it higher. But just in terms of samplers, I think the OPZ is certainly not the best. It's got a nice sequencer, which is probably one of the best, but the pure sampling capabilities of it leave a lot to be desired, and that's why I'm not ranking it higher. Although hopefully in future they will improve some things like resampling, for example, and maybe better sample storage or sample management. That would be very nice. But until then, number 4, OPZ. And we are getting to the winner's podium at place number 3. The Octatrack. There are so many things to say about the Octatrack. It is a complex device that can do so many things. It's got many effects. You can resample, you can use very long samples, and you can mangle that stuff up as much as you like. But that comes at a high price tag as well, and therefore it doesn't rank quite as highly because it is very expensive, and yet it still has some annoying limitations, like for example monophonic tracks, which is something that annoyed me a lot when using it. And also it might not be the most fun device out there because there's a lot of setup to do and it's just not as immediate as I would like my ideal sampler to be. Although I gotta say, it's not as bad as many people make it out to be. It is still an amazing sampler and there's so much you can do with it, but I rank it at number 3. And the silver medal, place number 2, goes to the PO33 Pocket Operator. And yes, the very cheapest sampler on the list gets the second place, and it partly gets the second place because it is so cheap, because there is a whole lot of sampler that you get for the little money you pay for it. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration because it is so cheap, but you still get a fully functional sampler with a wonderful step sequencer. You get some immediately accessible effects in it, as well as being able to create whole songs on this device in no time, I think is very important. So the factor of value is great. I think the sound is unique. It's lo-fi, but at least it's unique, as opposed to devices like the MPC 1000 or something like that. So it's got its own sound. It is heaps of fun. The features you get for the money are great. Where it falls down, of course, is the build quality, but that's about it. It's a wonderful device, a great sampler. If you don't have one, you should definitely get it. And of course, by now you can guess which sampler is the number 1, the Zoom Sample Track. And it mainly gets this spot for having an amazing sound. Yes, it's the poor man's SP12, you probably heard this before, and it is true. I mean, sampling at the standard setting and then tuning your sample down just sounds amazing. The artifacts, I mean, I could go on about it, but it also has wonderful effects, and many of them, which is a lot of fun to play with, and you can resample those effects. Yeah, in terms of sound quality and effects, it is just amazing. Also, in terms of fun, I think it ranks very highly. So the usability is great. It is very immediate to use. I think very hands-on. There's no menu diving or anything like that. The way it feels, I like the build quality. It is a simple build, but still very sturdy. Also, you get a lot for the price you pay for it. I mean, the prices have gone up a little bit, but I still think they are very much worth it. Apart from the sequencer, which is a bit of a letdown, but I could live with it when I had it, and it still was a whole lot of fun to make music with it. It can sample in stereo, which is nice for such a old school device, I would say. And yeah, the Zoom Sample Track gets place number 1 because it has one, great sound, it's lots of fun, it has many features, it has a good build quality, and the value is just right. That's why I'm giving place number 1 to the Sample Track. and I am sure I will buy another one in future when I have the money for it. Yeah, it's a great device, it's super fun to use, and if you ever come across one for a good price, I would say snatch it up. And this is it for the rankings. Of course, I am aware this is highly subjective and maybe on another day I would rank them completely different, but that's what I came up with today from just my gut feeling. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think about them? What did I get right? What did I get wrong? And yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. I hope to see you next time. Until then, have a wonderful time. Peace.